We are going to start our Gunter Planning and Zoning meeting at 6:01. Pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, notice hereby given of a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Gunter, Texas, to be held on March 14th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the Gunter Public Safety Building located at 105 North 4th Street, Gunter, Texas, at which time the following will be discussed and considered. We will call to order and begin with the invocation and pledge. I'll offer the invocation. Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for this opportunity that we have to gather as a P&Z committee and quorum and as a community. Father, we ask you to please be with us as we review these items, that we will do what's best for our community. Father, we're grateful for those who serve our country. We ask you to please bless and watch over them and their families. We're grateful for the blessings thou hast given us, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Next up, citizen comments. Did anyone sign in on citizen comments?
No, sir.
Pretty light work tonight. Director's report. I'm going to turn the time over to the new guy.
Sure. Well, you take this time to just introduce myself. I'm Eric Wilhite. I'm your new Planning and Development Director. I joined the city back, I guess it was the second, just before Christmas, and been working for you all since then. Hit the ground running pretty hard, and so I'm here tonight to start working with you all as well. So, and other than that, I don't have any report this time.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it, and welcome. Minutes. Consider approval of minutes of the Gunter Planning and Zoning Commission for November 9th, 2023. Do I have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ken. All in favor? Aye. 4-0. Next up on the agenda, we will open a public hearing at 6:03 to hear public comments regarding a zoning change request for TH Townhouse SFO-0 District to PDSF2 Plan Development for a 2,900 square feet tract of land situated in the James Cornello Survey, abstract number 217, in the city of Gunter, Grayson County, Texas. The property is generally located at the southeast corner of Oak Street and 3rd Street. Anyone like to speak? Okay. We will close at 6:04. Move on to agenda item number 3. Discuss, consider, and act upon a zoning change request for TH Townhouse SFO District to PDSF2 Plan Development for a 2,900 square foot tract of land situated in the James Cornello Survey, abstract number 217, in the city of Gunter, Grayson County, Texas. The property is generally located at the southeast corner of Oak Street and 3rd Street, Fraser Capital. Yes, sir.
Yes, Chairman Commission, thank you. Oh, this is the case. As was mentioned, it's located on the exhibit up here on Oak Street. Currently, the land is vacant. And you'll notice on this particular exhibit, it doesn't show 3rd Street because 3rd Street actually isn't paved yet. That's part of what the developer will do if this application is approved. Oops, shooting past a little bit. Sorry to get used to some of the technology we're using here. So recently, they came in to do a zoning change for to do duplexes. The applicant then came back after they tried to market those duplexes and whatnot, and it didn't really work out, so they decided they wanted to do single family detached. So they came back, they're coming back now to do another zoning change to the 2-family, or the SF2 PD. And the reason it's a PD is we put together a chart for you up here that shows what the 2-family minimum setbacks and the lot width. So primarily for this PD, it's the lot width that we're looking at. They wanted to reduce down the lot width to do 40-foot wide lots as opposed to 40 or 50 feet, and also reduce down the setbacks. In this particular area, there's also an overlay district, the single-family Old Town overlay, which allows some reduced setbacks to the side yard setbacks. And they proposed there, and you'll see a replat coming up after this particular item that will conditionally approve them getting the approval from City Council. As we talked with them going through to request this zoning change, we kind of wanted to see what kind of product what they were proposing to be able to do on the lots. So these are illustrative examples that will be part of the PD ordinance that they'll be tied down to. Won't necessarily be specifically like this, but in the ordinance there will be specific items or architectural elements that they'll have to adhere to doing on the house. This is a one-story example that they provided. I apologize for this being rotated, but this is basically a two-story product, but they'll both have the added additional architectural elements. Normally, you can't necessarily control architectural masonry content and such nowadays, but if it's a PD and they come in and they're requesting different things and work with us on it, then we can, the city can, and that's what they're doing. Let's see what else we have here. And I apologize, I'll do a better PowerPoint next time.
That's fine.
I was gonna show you, we have an exhibit in your packet that kind of shows, we had them put the actual footprints on the proposed lots, which will end up being a 5-lot development. Okay, so this is an example kind of showing you, so you kind of get a feel or see the darker lines around there, or what will end up being the footprints of the dwelling units on those lots. Staff reviewed it, talked about it, really feels like it's a good opportunity. It fits in to a large extent of if you're familiar with the downtown master plan that was done a couple years ago. This is right on the edge of one of those character districts that identify to have residential. I think it would be very difficult to do larger lot residential. This kind of creates more of that Old Town neighborhood feel too, because they're more what we refer to in the planning industry kind of as a shotgun house. They're single family, smaller, but it's a kind of middle housing type product that's kind of really big in the market right now. We feel like with the architectural controls and style on it and the place that it's going, it's not a typical 40-foot wide lot in a typical suburban subdivision. So that's kind of why we bring it forward for you. So if you have any questions I can address, the applicant's also here. Jeff Smith is here, and he can answer any additional questions that you might have, if you want to ask anything.
Good.
I was just curious, what are they gonna market these for? I mean, roughly?
It's going to be, our understanding is going to be market value. So I'll let Jeff, because they are going to be for sale product, is our understanding.
Yeah, we're far as
Well, give your name and everything.
Just a second before you do, I'm still confused. Why do we have, to me, 2 PD and F2?
Because you have a base zoning, so it's a plan development based on SF2 base zoning, but we're reducing down certain characteristics of it.
Okay. And the characteristics is because of the smaller lot size?
The lot width primarily, the setbacks.
Okay.
That's what creates it to be a PD, but you have to have a base zoning to kind of start from
Okay.
to do it. And townhomes didn't fit it. It's better to go from a single family detached to a PD on it.
We've not done that before, have we?
Not specifically, no. Not that I know.
Not on this small of scale. I think you have on some of the projects that Centurion American has done, the different lot sizes and things to be able to get those annexed in or develop agreements on those. They have different lot sizes, and the PD ties down the different lot ratios on a much larger scale than this. But
Yeah. Well, I guess in my mind, I thought the PD on those larger ones was mostly so they could bring in some commercial stuff kind of in the middle of family homes.
That might have been part of the developer agreement with PD, but primarily from the PDs that I've seen, like on Palmer Lake and then on Platinum Ranch 121 and those types of things, is so they could get the variable residential lot sizes as well.
Okay.
And you said this is an Old Town overlay.
Yeah.
Based, again, it's grandfathered in this area right here.
Well, it's kind of, it's one of those quirky things that's in the Gunter ordinance right now. It allows, in the single-family Old Town overlay, it allows you to have the smaller, the 5-foot setbacks naturally. If it was on a larger lot, you could do it, still have the 5-foot setbacks. That's predominantly the only difference in this particular area, but it's a specific area, and I can't remember the streets that it's outlined. We dug through trying to find it once I realized that existed, but it doesn't show on our city zoning map. I tried to research and we found the plat that it refers to in the zoning ordinance to try to determine the area that it, it says Old Town, what is that really? So I found a plat, the Old Town plat, that platted a lot of these lots around here. Figure out what, and this is within that, but even more specifically, it falls within the Old Town master plan design guidelines that were done a couple of years ago. Not that those have ever been converted to actual zoning yet. That's kind of was the intent, was once you do a master plan like that and you kind of get these character zones or different land planning methodologies that you would then go in and do rezoning. That's never really happened yet. So as they came in, we looked at that, compared it to what the goals of that master plan were to see if so right now the only zoning vehicle we have is to do a plan development because we don't have an actual zoning to do these narrower lots like this in those areas.
Right.
Can somebody remind me what we approved the zoning change from the last time to townhome?
I believe it's just SFR one.
I think it was,
Or SFR two.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so we kind of
It was two-family duplex, basically.
Yeah, because originally it was 3 duplexes.
Right. So I mean, we've kind of already opened it up for that residential living in our downtown master plan area anyways.
Did I also hear you say that they'll be extending that street on down? There's not a
That's
curved
correct.
street there?
I thought I had an exhibit here, but they will be responsible for extending Oak Street further to the intersection of where 3rd Street would be and do a T hammerhead. So it's going to be an emergency turnaround. It won't be a cul-de-sac, but they'll extend 3rd Street down about
To right here, there is 39.
like 120 feet both ways from the center line.
Okay.
So they're adding some paving that the city had never put in order to develop these lots. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in the plat.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to see the, you saw the question out there for the
Any
marketing.
other questions on this agenda item number 3?
No.
Ken?
Well, go ahead and let him speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Jeff Smith. I've not done this a whole lot, so
Give your address
I
and.
live here in town, 200 East Main Street. Y'all may not recognize me because I took my hat off for the meeting. So, but in regards to the price point, we are targeting low to mid 300s. Kind of a starter home. It's going to be lower square footage, about the 1,500 square foot range.
And that's both for the 1-story and the 2-story, ranging 13 to
Right, yeah,
18?
depending on the 2-story would probably increase a little bit in square footage, so price would likely go up. We're, definitely keeping it below 2,000. It's not going to be they're not going to be great big homes. They're just going to be kind of a basic but well finished, good looking starter home for somebody.
Yeah. And for reference, it's literally right here, out the back door. Okay. Ken, any questions?
Nope, that's it.
Ken, what
Just a
else?
couple questions.
Sure.
One is, this is not gonna be cookie cutter on all 5 homes then? It sounds like you're gonna have a mixture of, what do they call it?
Elevation.
Elevation.
Right, so there will be some elevation changes. As far as the floor plan, it's likely going to be 1 or 2 floor plans, but with varying elevations, so that we're not getting into a repetition situations.
Okay. And on the single family, you're thinking about roughly how many bedrooms?
3 bedrooms.
3 bedrooms.
2 bath.
Okay. That's all I got.
Okay, awesome. On agenda item number 3, do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 3 as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ken. All in favor? 4-0. Agenda item number 4, discuss, consider, and act upon a replat of 3 lots into 4 lots to build single-family dwelling units located near 3rd Street and Oak Street, Fraser County.
Mr. Chairman, Fisher, if I could make a correction.
5 lots?
Yes, sir, thank you.
That's what I thought.
That's my rookie mistake there. Yeah, so this plat, we're putting it back to back. Obviously, when you, if you do choose to approve this plat, in order for them to do the development they propose in the PD, we need you to pass the motion, contingent on, of course, city council approving the plat, or approving the zoning in order for the plat. Otherwise, the plat will have to be denied at city council as well, because we have to have zoning in place. But you can see the plat here. They're taking what were a bunch of smaller lots that are typical in the old downtown area, and then replatting it into 5 lots so they can do all these single-family detached residential homes. And this, and again, they'll extend Oak Street down and then add 3rd Street to be a T hammerhead. I thought I put an exhibit in here, but I didn't. I apologize. I have it here with me, a hard copy. Y'all want to?
Which again, 3rd Street, that's part of the downtown vision.
That is correct.
For the future.
It's still in the French. Now, in the downtown master plan, there are they created different character zones. Some would be more commercial, mixed-use type things that we're working with a couple of developers that are looking at some of the other areas right now, but this is right on the fringe. Actually, the master plan showed more residential on the other side of Oak Street, but this kind of still, the border wasn't really exactly delineated. So we felt it still fit, but I just want to show you this real quick just so you understand, show the audience, but that's what the pavement extension will look like. And I apologize for having you in that exhibit, but.
Oh, great, that's
And
right.
that'll create, it's not a cul-de-sac, but it starts 3rd Street, the 3rd Street, we extend it down, and then it creates fire access, so it's not a dead-end street, which is against ordinance too. And it meets all the other, meets all the other plating requirements, and they'll, if approved through city council, they'll submit their engineering plans with the plat and for the street, and we'll take them through that process.
And with that engineering comes all of the hooking up for city water and sewer and all that.
Water and sewer, they've previously spoken because for the duplexes with Mustang for the CCN, and then for the street. I don't know that I didn't go back. I didn't see that it was discussed that much when you guys did the duplex project, that you're going to do the street or not. But
The extension, for sure.
so it'll be required in order to develop these. They have to put in that street, and it'll be built to city specifications, city standards. There are city standards for streets. Typically, if it was not an existing street and we're in a new subdivision, it'd have to be concrete, but because they're tying into an existing asphalt city street, they're requesting just to continue asphalt under new standards that are better than what the pavement section was as far as thickness and those types of things previously. We do have guidelines and standards for that now. Yes, sir.
That street now, is that owned by you guys or owned by the city?
It's right of way. They'll be building street pavement in city right of way.
Okay, so they don't have to deed it back or anything?
No, it's already dedicated right of way.
And
That's
they'll
the
be,
thing.
and the maintenance
Will be
of that
cities.
street will be cities?
That's correct, and that's why
Okay.
they have to build it to city standards
Right, okay.
and be inspected by our city just like we would anything.
Okay.
No issues or concerns with fire safety as far as hydrants and things, plenty of supply in that area?
And at this point, we've not heard anything if there's an issue. If there is, when they said there's civil plans, if fire decides that they need a hydrant down there or something, we'll have to work with it to get it, to make it happen. At this point, they're just not far enough along to know that for sure.
Okay.
It looks like there's a little bit at the very south end of the property. Looks like a narrow strip of land there. Is that an easement for drainage, or what is it for? Between it and the dash line of the other properties, I'm looking at,
I think it's a utility easement, but I'm not positive.
okay.
And, speaking of drainage, just to not go off topic on their project too much, but we're evaluating and looking at a lot of different issues that we've had to get development to happen more downtown. So more discussions on how to address some of the drainage situations, they're not impacted necessarily because where they are, but there's a lot of other areas that if they came in wanting to do development, we'd have to work on the drainage situation. In this particular area, there's not anything that exists like that right now.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. All right, do I have a motion on agenda item number 4 with the correction from 4 to 5 lots?
I will make a motion to approve agenda item number 4 as presented.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. All right. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 5, discuss, consider, and act upon accepting the letter of resignation from Ezekiel Romero for place 1 of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Do I have a motion on number 5?
Make a motion that we accept the resignation.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
4. Okay, for this portion of tonight, we will end and adjourn our meeting at 6:22 for the P&Z meeting. Thank you. Next up, we have a.
One sec.
Sorry.
I'll start over. Hold on.
No worries. Just, we're gonna do a workshop, so you guys are welcome to listen in, or hopefully Eric doesn't bore
Just a
us.
heads up, my wife,
I'm kidding.
just a heads up, my wife texted me, said the storm's gonna hit Salina about 7 and then move to us, and has confirmed baseball size hail, so if anybody.
How am I supposed to get back to Old Fort Worth?
Just for
Go-
anyone.
go-
Just hang tight.
I'm trying to figure out how quickly anybody can talk.
I'm not an aircraft pilot, I can't fly around storms.
Right.
Yeah, you can.
121 to 75.
A woman could.
I don't go down, man,
That's
I don't go
not
down.
the way.
121 through 77.
Yeah, okay.
All right, give me a time.
So starting 6:23, pursuant to chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, notice hereby given of a workshop meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Gunter, Texas, to be held on March 14th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the Gunter Public Safety Building located at 105 North 4th Street, Gunter, Texas, at which time the following will be discussed. We will begin with the open session. Welcome, P&Z Board. And I'll turn the time over to Eric.
All right, give me a second, as I try to find our PowerPoint for my, I hope we loaded all the right thumb drives to keep track. Should be this one, right?
Second package.
Yeah, how was this?
I think he came from there. But I think his first and last was
the same.
That one says the workshop?
Yeah.
No, it's not gonna be that one, it's gonna be the workshop, because this is. Because it starts off with this. That's not in that one.
Okay, you want this?
All I can do is run and scan it quickly, or I could just make everyone a copy.
Yeah, unless I'm just missing it, this is the one that says workshop, but it's on PD again. I could go grab my laptop, I guess, and pull
So
it on.
the only thing you're missing is these 3 front pages,
That
right?
would probably be quicker.
Well, there's a whole PowerPoint of about 20 or
Yeah,
25
but see, it
slides,
breaks it down.
In addition to the exhibits and
exhibits. Let's see.
Exhibit A, like I guess these are your examples.
They have got it. I can give you mine if you wanna talk off of mine.
No, teacher, I don't think they do have it, they don't have the workshop PowerPoint.
No, all we've got is, it's all for,
This,
yeah.
this is the workshop PowerPoint. That's the one that you sent me.
It is?
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
not, that's not PowerPoint. That's not the
Then
one.
you need to go get your computer. That's what you gave me.
That's not what I spent 3 days working on.
Hook it up. In the meantime, everybody pull out your phones, look at the radar.
I know.
Yeah, check the radar.
Yeah, I'm gonna check the
Coming
radar.
straight at us. The rain
I'm missing.
and the hail.
Hey, y'all have games out here?
That tornado warning earlier.
I know.
It's the second one that looks the worst.
I'm supposed to be on the
While
dot.
he's doing that.
Yeah, it's about 9:30.
But how long here?
Honestly, I mean, we just threw that one. I mean, honestly,
Yeah, I mean, it went after
this isn't
Orland
supposed to hit us
earlier.
till, like, the hard stuff's not supposed to hit till
Now
7.
that storm is moving.
Yeah,
God, it's where we're at.
it's only
Yeah.
6:26.
We lucky.
See, I'm not worried about the windshield on my vehicle. I drive Preston
I
Road.
was gonna tell you, Tim,
It's already got
That
some damage from the.
if we need a replacement for this board, I've got a guy, it's pretty old, guy and stuff, you guys may interview him.
Yeah,
So just
the
let me know.
process is simple, just have them email or call Deetra, and she'll send an application, and then it'll be reviewed by council.
Okay, cool.
Start around.
Okay,
But thank you.
yeah. Well, there's a vacancy. Vacancy. Yeah.
They get in there with their tools. Until it straightens itself out.
Yeah, that's what I'm back to.
Is she?
We're gonna steal two emergencies down here.
I'll do it.
These are waiting on
You
you.
got your own type of chocolate you put in.
What'd you say?
What's going on with your mom?
Just fine, just, everybody's just rocking and rolling. Thank you.
Yep, it might be over to be open.
I've already got my package. It's over with. Let's see.
This is down in, by the time, on the other. We're here.
Yeah, forget his. There's I'll use the bathroom real quick. Council.
You're curious. Make sure you're a lawyer that catch.
Are they laying first too?
Laying in the weeds.
Maybe postpone. We'll see. What's the verdict?
It's better if you got the soup dry.
Yeah, we'll see if it works, because I don't think I might be able to hook up in here. All right. Let's see this. I should have looked at it and known when it was set at PD that it wasn't the right thing. And I can get you guys a printout of this, sometime.
This is basically.
It's a little different.
How do I expand the screen on this thing?
Just left of the slide, there's the little icons down there where you just were.
Here,
One more over.
this one?
Other way.
You're right.
The last one.
I'm trying, there you go, this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so again, my name is Eric Wilhite. Well, it doesn't look like it right now. I've had 30 years of experience in the public and private sector in planning.
Doing just fine, just fine.
So, you know, when I first came on, the mayor and I were talking, and I've done a couple of these for some other small cities I've worked with. So I know some of you have been on P&Z quite a while, so this might be like a refresher course or just a food for thought on some additional things, and some people are new or what have you, but it's always good to kind of just go back over stuff. So this is one of those things that I kind of put together before and kind of tweaked it for you all, but just, you know, wanted to kind of be open, so if there's questions or dialogue, if you want to ask a question as I'm going through a slide or something like that, or anybody in the audience that's here that has a question or we want to talk about it a little bit more, just let me know. But, you know, main topics are we're going to look at the responsibilities and activities of the P&Z. Kind of ironically, kind of already did something tonight, but sunshine laws, which is kind of boring, legal stuff. Conflicts and improper influence, public hearings, which are very important, other considerations, and kind of some thoughts on effective meetings. And then it's a nice little color slide to kind of show kind of a chain of how P&Z kind of works within the framework of the city. You know, we have the land use, the comp plan, zoning. You all interact with the public, you interact with us as staff. Every meeting or any time that you have any questions, you can always call us and talk about some ideas you have, or someone mentions something on the street to you and you want to, you know, kind of know from a land use standpoint, would they be allowed to do it where they are or whatnot like that. If you're not sure, feel free to call. There's visual image, like the kind of, you know, pictures are always included in the submittals as you've seen. And then a work plan, and then some municipalities require the P&Z to kind of put together an annual work plan or a report, kind of like where you've done, kind of where you want to kind of see P&Z's role expanded, or just, you know, different thoughts or something they can share with the city council that has appointed you. The roles of the P&Z, you know, to me, there's traits of the commissioner. You visionary, want to see the big picture, understand that you're going from a macro scale, looking at things, but can also go down to a macro scale, like we were just looking on Oak Street. But keep the big picture in mind, like how would this land use, you know, if it's not allowed by right, there's, you know, and you're making a zoning change, how could it possibly affect other land uses that may or may not be looking at, you know, and want to come, or it might set the tone for different land uses that could come in that same area. I've had lots of experience in the past where there's certain automotive land uses that are generally, or just, you know, multifamily, or just other land uses that go into a certain place. Well, then it that kind of shows the development community in a way that that's kind of okay, or where you want things to happen. And that's good sometimes, and then sometimes it isn't. Aware of problems and potential. It's kind of what I'm talking about. If you approve something, you know, staff will try to give you examples of past experiences that we've seen that something was approved and, you know, how it didn't work out so great later on, and kind of the P&Z and council, and then you just take that and add that to your thought processes and your decision making. Impartial and objective. I mean, we need to, you know, as a planner, when someone comes in, I don't care if it's just like the Smiths that have done a little bit of development, or someone that's new in it, or a single family, a person that owns a lot that their parents, you know, willed to them, and they want to see what they can do to develop it. We come in looking at something from a zoning change standpoint or a land use standpoint. Doesn't matter who you are, we're just looking at it, stay consistent. Some of the lawyers like to use the word arbitrary and capricious, which sounds really cool. Try not to be that way as a planner. Try to look at everything for the merits that it brings, or how it overall, you know, meets the plans and the objectives of the city. Community interest at first, of course. That's a really kind of a hard one to know necessarily, because there's lots of different interests in the community, right? Everybody has a lot of different opinions on different things that come through, and that's just one of those things where someone comes, if they're not allowed by right, then we work through the issues as best we can based on our information that we have from working with y'all and the city council. And then there's times people just want to do what they want to do it like they want to do it, even if it's ill-advised from staff's perspective, but it's America, so they can bring the case through to y'all and then talk back and forth with them and work it out. Comes prepared to be nice. You know, I've had P&Zs before where you can tell the person, we try to get them to you, you know, in a timely fashion, several days ahead of time, so you have time to kind of look through it. But I've had P&Zs and city council that the first time they opened the packet, you could tell was that evening, because they're reading it as you're trying to make the presentation or whatever. And it's just, I think, nice to be as prepared as possible. Or if you have questions, to get prepared, call me. I, always wanted to talk about a case up front. If you see an issue or there's something you want to bring up in the meeting, and we can talk about it. And if it changes your mind or gives you more to think about, that's fine. If it doesn't, you can still bring it up in the meeting and have it on public record that it came to your mind, and we can talk about it. But if you have a question that's kind of stumping you on, really, is it like this or not, or you just don't understand something, just give me a call. I'll talk to you about it and explain to you as best from a land use and planning perspective as I can. Practical and creative, like we just did tonight. I mean, some people would freak out on 40-foot wide lots, and in certain situations and circumstances, we would too, from a planning standpoint, from a staff level standpoint. So that's why we try to push people. If you're going to do something, what is this? What are you doing? What's the city getting out of this? Kind of a trade-off type thing. Are you going to bump up the architectural style to make it look and fit in to the character of something that would be on a 40-foot wide lot? And so we do that, and then kind of consistent. There's going to be times we'll have multiple cases up here, and people aren't always going to think you're being consistent because they don't know the nuances of each case necessarily as they're seeing it during the public hearing. But there are, and it's up to us to kind of try to explain to that, or from your all's perspective, to kind of say, well, we're approving this SUP in this particular, for this same kind of land use here because it fits here, but over here, there's other land uses around it, and that's why, don't feel like we should approve it there. Or if they're pretty much identical, similar situations, only come a month apart or something, then, just try to be consistent. Nothing saying that it's at your discretion on approving things or not, but you just don't want to show that you're not consistent with your planning thoughts. And it makes it hard on us because then we don't really, we have the zoning code and the ordinances, but we want to have judicious flexibility to bring stuff to you that we think, fits within the context of what the ordinances were. And as Jared and I've spoken that, there's just times with some of the ordinances need to maybe be fixed if we keep bringing cases that just don't match what the ordinance is doing, because I don't want to bring PDs constantly. But if a plan development makes sense based on the context of that specific case, then we're going to bring it to you. But if not, it reaches the point where maybe we need to revisit the zoning ordinance to address it, so it's just allowed by right. This is just some local government code as to what the Planning and Zoning Commission's situation is from a local government code or state standpoint. This is in your zoning code, in the City of Gunter's zoning code, of how the Planning and Zoning Commission was created, organization, appointment, the membership, and duties and authority. As far as I'm aware, all that was followed for you guys to be sitting here right now, but that's just one of those things too. There's some other things that our ordinances have to adhere to because state law trumps it, and that includes zoning, plating, and changes to comprehensive plan. And most of our zoning code doesn't contradict, or it follows state law, and then adds to it in some instances. Your role at the zoning is you're an advisory board. You make recommendations, but I want you all to know from my perspective, I think your input's very important to help, provide as much information up front now for when it goes to City Council and the final, decision maker on it. Because it comes from staff, then it goes to you, and then they have all that information building up to be able to let them have as much information as possible to take action on it. And hopefully we'll, not always agree, but be pretty consistent. And, not that P&Z should ever be concerned what City Council's thinking or wants, but, it's good to kind of be on the same page in some aspects from the bigger picture of things to kind of fall through and be consistent, because it helps us with developers when they're coming in to scare off things that you don't want and then bring in things that you do. Some of the zoning ordinance considerations, we have adopted as much, I think, as possible from what I can tell on the comprehensive plan that we have. It's followed pretty closely. Comprehensive plan, of course, if you're familiar with that, the future land use plan is like the 30,000 foot, the higher up kind of view of land uses, how much residential you're going to have, commercial, non-residential uses, those types of things. And then we get down into the zoning. Some of the zoning I don't necessarily understand where it came from in the larger areas, like the townhome all over, TH being all over the old downtown area, but it is, and it's somewhat cumulative in nature, whereas you can do townhomes, or you could do SF2 or SF1, you could do larger lot single family stuff, so it can, as long as it's going upwards, you could still do it and not have to get a zoning change, but because of the way the things are platted and everything, I think it's never really gonna happen. And I don't think market-wise here, townhomes probably aren't ever really gonna happen either. It's just, townhomes are just one of those, at this point in the market, they're kind of a niche thing. I've tried to get them to go in other small towns and it just, developers just can't make it happen. But I think there's some opportunity in our downtown to look at doing vertical mixed use. If we get a developer to come in and maybe do office retail on the bottom floor and then some bungalow type apartment on top, you know. And that's just my thought. The developer might tell me I'm flipping nuts on the market, but you know, it's that housing product that doesn't exist around here right now that could. Compliance with the comprehensive plan, if someone comes in and it's something that, you know, it's just completely contrary, like, I'm not gonna give any true examples because I don't wanna touch off anything that's been happening, but we can look at the comp plan and go, well, you know, we don't wanna take this commercial and go all single family with it because it's contrary to what the future land use plan shows. Of course, the future land use plan is a living document too. It can be revisited and should be revisited, you know, every 5 to 10 years too, to see if it's still consistent with the goals and objectives of where the city wants growth as far as land use types. And you don't always have to follow it. I mean, if someone comes in and it doesn't, you know, it shows residential in this area and there's some good mixed use or commercial type situation, you know, we'll bring it up that it doesn't follow the future land use plan, but that doesn't mean you have to. It just kind of helps set the stage to establish zoning on different tracts of land. I mean, it's something you guys know with this one since we just kind of followed through and did it. And I'd say there's some municipalities I've worked with where site plans, where they're just an ministerial function, still go to P&Z and council. I've always had issues in some of the municipalities I've worked with doing that because as we bring a PD, we're getting kind of site specific or specific use permit. We're getting very specific on how the site lays out and the different nuances and conditions. And you guys can, you know, nitpick it and request different things that are beyond code or different than the code. Whereas the site plan that gets presented to you, it wouldn't be here in front of you. If site plans came to you and city council, it's just an ministerial function because they either meet all the code as it is or they don't get approvals from city staff to do their building permit. So, you know, sometimes we've taken, when I've had cities that those do go to P&Z, you kind of, whoa, this isn't a plan development or specific use permit, it's a site plan. It's an administrative function. You're basically just getting to look at it, kind of learn if you don't like the dumpster location or the plant material where it's at and whatever, then we need to, you know, consider changing the ordinance because they meet everything on the ordinance. Otherwise it wouldn't be a site, you know, an administrative approved site plan. But, you know, I recommend approval request was submitted by the applicant like we did tonight. Or certain conditions. You guys could have asked for different things on that plan development if you wanted, I don't know. On this one, it wasn't too complicated, but other non-residential PDs become a little bit more complicated, or can be because there's more space to work with. And then, of course, there's nothing that says that on a PD or an SUP, you have to recommend approval. You can deny it without cause. I mean, you don't really have to explain yourself as to why you don't. Some attorneys, I think, would recommend that you don't go into it a whole lot as to why you're denying it, other than just don't feel like it's the right thing or it has too much potential negative impact on surrounding land uses. Different types of zoning cases, I know you're all familiar with straight zoning. Someone's coming in, they want to do, you know, a single family SF2 from an SF1 or something, you know, downsizing it to add a little bit more lots to get their performer to work because the land costs so much or something. You can't place additional conditions on it. You either approve it and they meet the district development standards of that zoning district that they're asking, or they don't. Whereas plan development district's a little bit different. Special use permit is different as well. It's kind of a give and take in a discussion. And then of course you all take actions on plats. Everything that in the city the code requires that before a building permit is issued, a piece of property has to be platted. We have lots of people coming in right now that want to do development on their property, and that's the first thing you can tell. Has it been platted? Well, you look at the tax record and it says it's an abstract or tract, then you know it's not. You have to explain that to people lots of times because they think because they're paying taxes on it and it's a tract and abstract that it's platted, but it isn't. So they have to kind of explain the lot block and an addition name is platted. And then there we have a whole different section of the zoning ordinance that's not part of the zoning ordinance, a subdivision ordinance that regulates platting, like flag lots aren't permitted. You look at the zoning, then when they go into platting, does it meet the zoning district development standards? Are the lot widths or the setbacks and those types of things that they're showing on their plat. Does it meet the zoning in order to be able to do the subdivision like they're requesting? And then any other development regulations on there. Some people come in because they do have some difficulty. We're dealing with some people right now that they bought a tract by meets and bounds behind another tract, so they don't have any street frontage, but there's two different ownerships. So now they go, how do I get access to a street? Well, you should have bought it that way probably, but so they want to come in and they want to plat it because they want to build a house on it, but they don't have any access. They think they can get in a mutual access easement, but our ordinances require that you have a minimum of 100-foot frontage on a street. If you're in the ETJ, if you're in a specific zoning category, it has to be whatever that zoning width for that lot is. But the ordinance also says you can't do flag lots. So if that's the case, they have to come in and they can ask for a variance from y'all and City Council to do a flag lot or any other deviations from the subdivision ordinance. Not to circumvent zoning, but just subdivision ordinance regulations, like certain grading issues happen on the site or something like that. Some extenuating circumstances that they just can't, it's a hardship. But there are things in the subdivision ordinance that specifically kind of outline that you can look at, kind of, if something like that comes up, that we'll provide to you so you can look at it and see the guidance on what criteria of which you evaluated to do it or not. Plats now, there are some that require public hearings, like if they're single-family residentially zoned, or if a variance, like I was mentioning, comes, that has to go through as a public hearing process. There's other plats that are called minor plats, where it's less, it's less than 4 lots. They don't need any public improvements, no street, water, anything like that. They just want to, they have, some property and they just want to do 2 lots out of it. Something, then that's just an administrative plat. Y'all won't see that particular one. So there's different types of plats: final, preliminary, replats. Are you all familiar with the different types of plats at this point? Okay. Plats in ETJ, we do have subdivision regulatory authority in the ETJ. So if someone comes in, it's a little confusing to them sometimes. Yeah, I'm in the county. Yeah, but you're in the ETJ. So we have subdivision regulations that you follow in order to plat, because you're going to try getting a building permit. Now, since this House bill came out, it used to be that a lot of ordinance, and the ordinance still has this in there, where in certain zoning districts, like commercial, you have to be 75% masonry product on the front facades, or every facade has to have minimum 75% masonry. A lot of municipalities, 10, 15 years ago, started adding that just because it was kind of it looked as an overall good for the community because of aesthetic and just building material quality. But recent legislators took that away, that we can't. So if someone comes in and they want to do a commercial building and it's going to be a metal building, it is this metal building, unfortunately. There are a few sunshine laws I'll run through real quick. Sunshine laws just mean laws that they have enacted, and some of them are going to just just go away because they don't re-up them. I don't want to spend too much time on those. Every meeting obviously has to be open to the public. That quorum, what the quorum number is in order to take action on something. We post the agenda 72 hours in advance, of course, but we also
I'm sorry to interrupt, but on behalf of the fire department, Pat, we are asking that everyone goes. There is a tornado on the ground going through Prosper as we speak. We are considered the red zone and it's headed for us. So they say you'll go for the next 5 minutes, you're all set.
We're done. Postponed, it's 6:50.
Sorry.
Man, tough crowd, bringing in tornadoes and everything.
Yeah, you guys just want to get out of here. You didn't have to stay. All right, I'm gonna head out.
Okay. I will get it. Hey, Cindy, what am I supposed to do with this thing?
Finishing up the next one.
Pause it.
Y'all be careful.